So ITP presents a particular scenario, and the students in the class get to interact with the actors who are involved.
Student actors come in and perform a brief scene for the group. And
in that scenario, and ask, why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? How did you feel?
They perform short clips of a scenario that's pertinent to the world around us, and then you have you start discussing. You can talk to the actors. You can talk with the audience members.
So that it emotionalizes the experience. It's not just, that something racist happened. Well, something racist happened, and then people actually had feelings about it on both sides, and so ITP kind of brings to life a lot of issues that we don't know how to talk about.
Opens up the possibility of discussions for topics that need to be discussed but never are.
I've never seen such a powerful tool for teaching in 40 years.
And what do you think is so powerful about it?
That you actually, you're not giving them information, you're touching them. How do we engage the student? How do we get them in it, in the moment, really with us, processing it, interacting with it, being moved by it? How do we do that other than just exchanging? I give information, you get information. It's a one-way thing. I give my statistics lecture, you write notes, I bestow information. You're the receiver, I'm the giver. That's the worst kind of education. It's information.
So the class that I teach investigates some pretty controversial issues, and how those issues function in school and society. And some of those are related to race, class, sexuality, gender, just equality in general. And often students have had a pretty difficult time talking about those issues, just without any context, or being really defensive about certain issues and not really being able to understand the personal component of those issues, that we're not just talking about issues, we're talking about people who are affected.
we just used it this week, for instance, for a rhetorical analysis. So I had them come in, do a performance, and then I asked the students to engage in the performance, interact with the actors, and said, I don't think that was the most dramatic episode that they could have given. And I said, you're absolutely right. It was actually a fairly mundane episode that ITP performed for us. Why did they make that choice? And two other students popped right up and were able to talk about, well, I think they did that so that we could relate, so that the scene was dramatizing a situation that was more relatable to the average student or the average person. And we had a great discussion about that. In fact, this is one of the things I love about ITP, is that the scripts are never dogmatic. They never have an agenda. I know that they're always drawn from actual events, usually taken from the CU campus. And they, one of the things that I really value about them, that I think is a great pedagogical tool, is the way that they unfold a whole bunch of different viewpoints and a whole bunch of different possible interpretations. Rather than saying, this is right, this is wrong, they're asking us to ask questions about these really relatable situations that we often find ourselves in every day.
Yeah,
and
it opens up the possibility of discussions for topics that need to be discussed but never are.
And I saw this, skit that they did involving all these issues that had never come up in my life before, and I thought, oh, that's something so cool that I want to get involved in. And
yeah, it's interesting because I met with a former student last night, and we were talking about just race stuff in general, and she said, "You remember when you brought in that group?" And she's like, "That was awesome, because we had to connect we had to connect to the experience as people, you know, and put ourselves like, what would I have done? You know, I could say, I would have never done that. I could say like I would have done something so different if you just hear about a story. But when you see it, and you see like why a person says something racist, and you have to like ask questions to understand why that person did that, it changes what you would have done, or what you think you would have done. It really has students reflect, like if I was in that position, I don't consider myself racist or sexist or any of those things, but if I was in that position, what would I have done? You know, and I think, yeah, for students it personalizes, it's interactive theater, right? So it's not like we're watching something, it's like, no, you're actually going to be involved in this emotionally, and I think that's what it's done for my students.
As an anthropologist, I'll tell you something's true. Our brain is wired not to remember anything that doesn't have emotional content. And that's why people go to sleep in a bad lecture. Students come back, you know the lectures they remember? When I did something absolutely astounding that either scared them or made them mad or made them laugh. And that's why I do performance. We filter out stuff that isn't threatening or funny or exciting. That's exactly what you do. A roundtable discussion is none of that. They remember you. Are we starting yet?
We've been doing it.
I didn't even know. I was just talking about what I would talk about.
I knew it as soon as